Welcome to Parlay TV.
Plenty of things look easy at first. Skydiving, lion taming. From the comfort of your armchair, all sorts of risks look easy as
Cristiano Ronaldo, Diogo Jota, and Bruno Fernandes literally
blew Russia off the park in a clinical display of attacking football.
Wow.
Sorry, what did you say, Kobe?
Wow, bro.
Let's break it down.
I am Pat Mayo, and I'm here to give you the best pick at the top of the board, the best bet, if you will.
So I'm going to go with just under 25 for Middleton here.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new edition of Laying the Points with Luca Rosano on this Tuesday, April 12th. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, and we got a whole ton to talk about. This is going to be day one of the NBA play-in tournament. We're going to get into my predictions a little bit later on in the show. The Lakers want Nick Nurse. We're going to talk about that. We got some breaking news that is going to impact a first-round playoff series that you want to hear about. Big-time stuff that just occurred under 30 minutes ago. And then we are going to talk Sabres and Leafs. The Maple Leafs are back in action as they look to beat the Sabres as they gear up for the postseason. But we're going to begin this show talking about Nick Nurse. The Raptors might be the only franchise that I can think of that they got to worry about player free agency. They got to worry about somebody taking their GM and Masai Ujiri. And now they got to worry about somebody maybe trying to pry away their head coach, and that is Nick Nurse. Huge report coming out with Frank Vogel. He's firing. They announced Vogel's dismissal on Monday, the Lakers, that is. The Lakers are now targeting Toronto's head coach, a guy who has a playoff series in less than, 5 days, Nick Nurse, as a possible successor. Multiple sources told The Athletic, and this was courtesy of Shams on Twitter. Now, you look at Nick Nurse, he signed a multi-year contract extension in 2020, led the Raptors to the NBA championship during the 2018-19 season in his first season at the helm. And our very own Noor tweeted out, why would Nick Nurse go to the Lakers when it's 17 degrees in Toronto today? That's the one thing I can see that would pry Nick Nurse away, is the weather is head and shoulders better. But other than that, I mean, I was shocked when I saw this, because why on earth would Nick Nurse want to leave everything that's good with the Raptors right now? A winning organization, an organization that has been to the playoffs 8 of the last 9 years, an organization that has won a championship in 2019, an organization that knows how to develop young talent and doesn't trade everybody away just for one player for one season of glory. A team that actually looks good, not only on paper, but on the court. Why would he throw that all away for the mess that is the Los Angeles Lakers, a team that pretty much ruined the next 5 years of their franchise, possibly longer, to bring in LeBron for one championship that nobody even remembers, that nobody even talks about? That is the bubble championship. The LeBron James tenure over 4 years has been very forgettable, and the Lakers sacrificed a lot of homegrown talent, a lot of talent that is making noise in the play-in, in the playoffs, for a team that will be watching like everybody else on the couch. So my reaction to this report is simply this. The Lakers could want Nick Nurse. They could inquire about getting Nick Nurse, but it doesn't mean they're going to get what they want. I mean, if everybody was able to get what they wanted, the world would be pretty messed up. So this is laughable that the Lakers, the prestigious franchise that they are now envious, it seems, of the Toronto Raptors. And let's not forget, the Lakers reportedly wanted Gary Trent Jr. at the trade deadline. We saw where that went. Now they want Nick Nurse. It's probably only a matter of time. They're going to want Scotty Barnes when he becomes a free agent in a couple years down the line. The Lakers are a mess, and I don't think anybody's going to fix that mess. I think they just got to come to grips with the fact that they got to let this thing sit. They got to let time pass. They got to move on from LeBron, and they just got to do what every other team does, and that is groom their homegrown talent, get better via the draft, suck for a couple of seasons, completely rebuild this thing the right way, and not try to cheat their way to a championship the easy way and sacrifice 10 years of winning to do that. So, yeah, we'll see how this plays out, but I 90% am confident in saying Nick Nurse ain't going anywhere. Now, that there is that 10%, there is that unknown of, would Nick Nurse entertain this? I mean, first and foremost, how much money would they be willing to offer? Because the Lakers, they got some cash and they're in desperate need of a head coach. Could that potentially sweeten the pot for Nick Nurse? As Norm mentioned, I mean, the weather's not really good here in Toronto. The weather is good in LA. Maybe Nick Nurse would want another chapter in his career and move on, but I just don't see it happening. I think Nick Nurse has found himself here. He's not that type of guy to turn his back on the organization that made him. You saw him come up the ranks, become a head coach, lead this team to a championship. He's going to go down as a legend figure here in Toronto sports. Let's call it for what it is. So I don't think Nick Nurse is going to throw everything that's good with this Toronto Raptors organization to go entertain whatever's going on in LA right now with the Lakers. So I think this is a complete non-story. There is interest probably, but I don't think there's interest on the other side for Nick Nurse to leave Toronto for the Lakers. But it did make for some good content online, especially Twitter, as people are getting their kicks and their jabs, just like me, of why Nick Nurse shouldn't go to the Lakers. So we'll see how that story plays out. But it's just crazy how we got the play-in tournament going on. The playoffs are going to start in less than a week. And the Raptors got to worry about their head coach being pried away by the Lakers. What a world. What a 2022. Okay, we got some breaking news now. And I was talking to producer Patrick before the show, and I was absolutely shocked when I found this out on Bleacher Report that Luka Doncic, there was optimism that he was going to be ready to go for the Mavericks in the playoffs. The latest report saying that he is starting treatment on that left calf strain. It was an injury he suffered in the last game of the regular season against the Spurs. But as you see, there is no timetable for his return. Unbelievable, man. Talk about a crush to the Mavs playoff hopes, a team that looked destined to finally get out of the first round. And now they got to deal with the news that their superstar might not even be ready to go in any one of these games against the Utah Jazz. You talk about a huge blow to the Mavericks season. This is it. And I know Mavs fans are frustrated. I know NBA fans are frustrated. I'm not even a Mavericks fan. But Luka Doncic, I mean, how could you not say you're not a fan of his game if you love the game of basketball? Now to know that we might not get Luka time in the postseason, that's a major buzzkill as we're about to start this thing. And what everybody is now losing their mind over is the fact that Luka Doncic played in essentially a meaningless final regular season game, which caused and sparked this injury against the Spurs. Now, there was something to play for theoretically for the Mavericks. There was still a chance that they were able to get the number 3 seed if the Warriors had lost. That didn't happen. They are now slated in the number 4 spot. So I understand why they would want to win that game and possibly move up to the number 3 seed. But did it really mean that much? I mean, yeah, you could have moved on to number 3 and taken on the Nuggets, who could be a more favorable matchup than the team you got to go up against now in the Utah Jazz, but it wasn't make or break. It's not like the Mavericks needed to win that game to make it to the play and to get into the playoffs. It was just simply for seeding. And now looking at it, what a major disaster that this has gone on. And I guarantee you the Mavs coaching staff definitely regret the choice of sending out Luka in a meaningless game, which now has their entire season in jeopardy. And this is going to make teams very wary now down the stretch of seasons going forward, I think, where teams are going to say to themselves, is it worth it, us potentially risking our players due to injury for moving up a spot? because this is a prime example of trying to do a little too much and it costing the Mavs a ton. So I hate to see this as a basketball fan. It's going to suck big time not seeing Luka Doncic in the playoffs. Again, it's not official that he's going to miss the entire postseason or miss the entire first round between the Mavs and the Jazz. But when you see no timetable for his return, we know what that means. We know what it usually means. And it's not good. So I wish Luka a speedy recovery. I can only imagine what Mavs fans are feeling right now. I mean, this was a team that I would have had seamlessly getting through the first round against the Jazz. But now without Luka, I don't know. Maybe the Mavs can win a game or two to make it interesting, but they're really going to beat a fully healthy, fully strength Jazz team in a best of 7 without their best player, Luka, who just makes everybody around him better, who goes off every single game. It looks like Mavs fans are going to have to suffer yet another first round exit. And this might be the worst of them all just because of the Luka injury news that's attached to it. So I tell you, this was not what anybody wanted to see. And I just hope by some way Luka Doncic is able to suit up in this series against the Jazz. Because if not, it's going to be a damn shame. And a lot of people are going to continue to talk about that decision to play Luka in that final game against the Spurs. We got some NBA play-in tournament games to now talk about. I'm super excited. For those of you who don't like the NBA play-in tournament, I don't want to hear it, because at the end of this week, you're going to be reminded of how good of a decision this is to implement this type of tournament, because this is going to be must-see TV. And it's going to be even better if you don't have a team a part of it. But the NBA tournament, play-in tournament, I think it's going to live up to the hype. I think we're going to get incredible basketball throughout, and the theatrics are going to be there. And it's going to start with our first matchup here. We got the Cavaliers taking on the Nets. Nets are going to be at home as the 7 seed going into this. If they win, they will officially be the 7 seed. And they are a healthy, hearty 8.5-point favorite. And you look at Kevin Durant going into this matchup, there's not another team he would rather play than this Cavaliers team, who is playing some of their worst basketball this season, who won't have Jared Allen for this one, who have fallen off a cliff. And as you can see on your screen, for those of you watching the show, Kevin Durant has owned the Cavaliers this season. 3-0 against the Cavs, putting up 28.7 points per game, 53.8% from 3, averaging 5.7 assists and 1.7 blocks. These numbers via NBA.com. Kevin Durant playing at home with a chance to get that 7 seed. Knowing if you get that 7 seed, you're going to play the Boston Celtics. I think there's going to be a pep to his step. Kevin Durant, so good in transition, so dangerous. You never know when he could just pop up and splash a 3. And he's going to have help tonight. He's going to have his good buddy, Kyrie, who's allowed to play in Brooklyn now. And now you're talking about the scary tandem that will be on full display tonight of KD and Kyrie going to work. They are going to be the scariest 7 seed if they do win this game in NBA playoff history. I mean, they are probably going to be the first 7 seed if they win tonight's game to be favored in a first-round playoff matchup against the number 2 Boston Celtics. So the Brooklyn Nets, I think you know where I'm going with this one. They should not have any problem tonight against the Cavaliers. This game's going to be at home. That crowd's going to be ready. Brooklyn's going to have its players back. There's news coming out that Ben Simmons might be ready for round 1. So they got that good news in their corner. All arrows are pointing that tonight is going to be a Nets dominating win. And I'm actually going to lay the 8.5 points here. And as you see, Shams tweeted out, Jared Allen is out for the play-in tournament. And the Cavaliers have not been the same defensively, have not been the same rebounding the basketball, have not been the same, period, since they have dealt with injuries to Jared Allen, to Evan Mobley. Luckily for them, they will have Mobley going tonight with a Darius Garland, but there has been so much shuffling of players being in and out that the Cavaliers have not looked like the same team that started the season. So I think tonight's going to be too much for them, and the Cavs might be in jeopardy of missing this thing entirely, and that would be a shame considering how hot of a team they were to start the year. But for tonight, I like the Nets. -8.5. Some places have them at -9.5 because the money's going on the Nets. And people are taking the Nets. They are not backing down of that big spread. So I like the Nets at home against the Cavs. And in the second game tonight, this is one that I'm looking forward to. Why? Because I got a future bet on the Clippers. Remember, I put it on this show? If the Clippers win the championship, I win that massive bet. I first need them to get into the playoffs to have a chance. So they got to win tonight. And I think they need that 7 seed against the Grizzlies, as they would much rather. Both of these teams would much rather play the Grizzlies because of their lack of experience compared to the Suns, who have been the best team in all of basketball. But this game tonight's going to be interesting. And you look at Karl Anthony Towns per game this season, he's one of the big reasons why the Timberwolves have had success this season. He, Russell, and Edwards have been the big three that people have been raving on and on about all over the league. And you look at Cat, he's averaging 24.6 points, 41% from three. He calls himself the best shooting big in the NBA, 9.8 rebounds, 3.6 assists. He's going to be ready to go for this game. But for as good as Cat has been this season, as you've seen him go to work against the likes of the reigning MVP Nikola Jokic, and whether it's him spotting up, shooting the basketball, or driving to the basket, this is actually the team in the Clippers that he doesn't want to see. Karl Anthony Towns has not fared well against the Clippers this season. He has only averaged 15 points on 42% shooting in the 3 matchups against the Clippers. And you look at the Clippers and the team that he's going to be going up against, this is a Clippers team that has looked completely different with the return of Paul George. And they got some much added depth now that Norman Powell is back. And this was already a Clippers team that thrived off their depth. This is a team that has a bench that averages more than 19.5 minutes per game, contributing to 40 points per contest. So for as good as Cat has been, the highlights that we've seen, the Timberwolves big three, them exceeding expectations, I actually don't like them in tonight's matchup. I think this is going to be a matchup problem based on some of the things that I said. I don't think the Timberwolves are going to have nearly as much depth as the Clippers do. And if one of those big three of the Timberwolves struggle tonight, they're going to be in tough. And we know Karl Anthony Towns, his numbers against the Clippers have not been good. And another big thing to note is how healthy is D'Angelo Russell going to be? He's dealing with a non-COVID illness. So is he going to be 100%? So that's two of the Timberwolves' big three players that have a lot of question marks around them. That's a lot of uncertainty. I know the T-Wolves are going to be at home, but the Clippers have proven to be a very good road team this season. So for that reason, I am actually going to take the Clippers tonight, +3. You're getting value with points. And I would even go as far as saying, take the Clippers on the money line for even extra added value. I think they get it done tonight. So those are my picks for tonight's playing games. We're going to get into tomorrow's playing games tomorrow. But for tonight, I like the Nets -8.5, -9.5, whatever number you get it at. And I like the Clippers +3 against the Timberwolves. And I even like them straight up on the money line. So this playing tournament, man, I think it's going to live up to the hype. I think we're going to be treated to 2 great games tonight. So sit back, put your bets in. I would say relax, but if you got money on these games, you're probably not going to do any relaxing. You're probably going to be on the edge of your seat. But these should be 2 very entertaining games to kick us off here. Okay, we are going to get into our last game that we want to preview tonight. And we're actually going to go in the NHL. And I did lose my hockey bet yesterday, and I realized something. I don't know if I want to bet on the NHL if it's not the Maple Leafs, because there's one team that has made me a lot of money this season in the NHL, and that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Every other matchup just so hard to predict in hockey, man. There are a couple other matchups tonight that you could parlay. But for tonight, I'm going to be looking at the Maple Leafs. They're going to be taking on the Sabres. And the parlay actually did a contest on their Instagram and social media feeds. They're actually giving away 2 free tickets to tonight's game. So I still think you have a chance to win. If you haven't already, go on their social media channels, go submit, go play the contest, and have a chance to win 2 tickets tonight. Who do I like tonight? The Maple Leafs are going to be overwhelming favorites. There's not going to be any value on them, taking them just on the money line. So I'm actually going to look at the puck line here. I'm going to take the Maple Leafs on the puck line -1.5. These two teams, they are leagues apart. And the Sabres, they did beat the Leafs actually 2-1 earlier this season, but don't let that fool you. Overall, they're 28th in expected goals. They do not have the firepower to match the Leafs and the man you just saw in Austin Matthews, who's been raking. This is going to be a no contest tonight. The Maple Leafs going to be at home. We know they're a different home team. They got so much firepower. I don't see the Sabres keeping them this close at all. I expect the Leafs to win by a ton. And I've seen some places offer the Leafs at -2.5. So they're saying take the Leafs by 3 or more goals. I don't know if I would go that far, but I feel confident laying -1.5 on the puck line with the Maple Leafs over the Sabres. The Sabres are not good defensively as well. They're 28th in team save percentage, and they just have not nearly as many strengths as the Leafs do. This is a very big discrepancy on paper. And I'm taking the Leafs because I need to get back in the win column with my NHL picks. So that will conclude today's show. Just to recap my picks, if you do want to bet tonight, you can parlay some of these if you'd like. I like the Nets -8.5 against the Cavaliers in playing game number 1. I like the Clippers +3 against the Timberwolves in playing game number 2 in the NBA. And I like the Maple Leafs -1.5 on the puck line against the Sabres. So you can parlay those 3 games if you want. And yeah, we'll see how we do. I know I'm definitely going to be betting on those NBA games tonight. And I hope my picks come in. That will conclude another great edition of Laying the Points with Luca Rosano. We hope you enjoyed it, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Parlay TV, or listening on Apple iTunes. You can let us know what you think of the show. And yeah, your support is greatly appreciated. Keep it locked and loaded right here on the Parlay. You can follow me at Luca Rosano 3 on Twitter. And we'll catch you all again in the next show. This is Luca Rosano signing off. Good luck with your bets tonight. And we'll see you tomorrow.